Jason, you can hold up the mic platform if that's easier.
Yes, that one.
Or that one.
Is that on? Hi, I'm Jason Hill. The primary reason I'm running is because I want to keep the number of codes and ordinances and laws to the minimum necessary for a just society. There are more laws on the books than can be learned in a single human lifetime. And, a lot of those laws, they may seem reasonable in isolation, but no single raindrop thinks that it's the cause of the flood. We have citizens that are drowning in the ocean of legislation. And some of the legislation that affects us most acutely is municipal level legislation. Alexander Hamilton warned us that our governments would create excess legislation. In fact, he called it a disease. I say enough. The other thing that's near to my heart is how the government spends its money. Much of the money that the government gets comes from threatening to take away people's homes and shut down people's businesses if they don't turn over money to the city every year. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought here. It's not magic money that appears on a balance sheet every year. Many Lehi residents have to make hard choices when it comes to paying their property taxes. Like, maybe my son has to wait another year before seeing a dentist about that impacted tooth, or maybe my daughter doesn't have to take gymnastic lessons 2 years in a row. So when you see the city government considering spending money on
what is one decision or action taken by the city council that you would have done differently?
One thing that comes to mind is, we're building most of the high-density development out on the west side. We're dumping $11 million into a family park on the east side. So where are all the young families going to be that have children? They're going to be on the west. And I think the city just approved a $4 million playground over there on the east side. So one thing I would have done is, maybe consider selling that land on the east side, buying an even bigger park on the west side, and making that available to where the young couples are living.
Is more of a scenario or philosophy, but walk us through your thought process of zone change. So a general plan zone change, how do you look at that and what is your walkthrough?
Yeah, anytime somebody wants to come and have a zone change down to lower density, I'd absolutely approve that. Unfortunately, that never happens. When I've been out in the community, what I've found is that there's a lot of people that aren't even aware that a zone change has happened or that a construction project has been approved until trucks actually roll up to the property to start working. I'd like to see more community outreach and require that the city actually go out to the surrounding neighbors and make sure that they're aware that the city council is going to be discussing this and that they can give their input on what the impact is on that neighborhood.
We're handing out money. If you received a $5 million grant to use for the city any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
How about putting some more money towards giving it so the residents of Cranberry Farms can get in and out of their neighborhoods during the day?
So as part of your 60-second, now 90-second closing statement, start with letting us know what you admire, appreciate, or like about the candidate to your left or to your next candidate. So Jason, Tyler, Michelle, so forth.
Yeah, every single candidate meeting I've shown up to, Heather's been there with a big smile and been very welcoming. I also appreciate how much of your life you contributed to, the Planning Commission and all your other volunteer work. You made a difference in Lehi. I don't have much political experience, but we have a system of government that was expressly created to include people without political experience, not so that we could have a permanent political class. I want you to, when our pioneer ancestors first came to Lehi and they wanted to enforce a law, they'd often have to gather together a group of volunteer posse to go out and enforce that law. So I want you to imagine, if you will, being in Lehi in 1880 and the sheriff knocks on your door and says, I need you to get your 6-iron and your scatter gun, because old man Peterson just built an unpermitted shed that's 10% bigger than the statute allows. You know, these things still have to be enforced, and just because we have full-time law enforcement that does it for us now, it's still, you know, you still have to think about how the sausage is made. So I'd encourage you to think about what you ask the city to do, because those things have consequences. Thank you.